If someone ever wrote a book about those who break every rule and make the galaxy rethink its intelligence assessment system, then Riley Morgan would definitely be in the opening chapter. As humanity's first interstellar ambassador, Riley wasn't chosen for her academic achievements but because she made an 11-species diplomatic council laugh out loud. During her interview, when asked what she would do if faced with a locked passage during a survival scenario, she answered, "I'd try to open it with a spoon. If that doesn't work, I'll remove the hinges. If I don't have a spoon, I'll break the wall next to it. Who said I have to use the door?" That's Riley, the woman with unruly chestnut hair, a smart visor always slightly askew, because she keeps taking it off to doodle on it, and a life philosophy that everything is just a puzzle waiting to be decoded. She doesn't just represent Earth, she embodies nonlinear thinking, limitless creativity, and the uncanny ability to make every other species just a little uneasy. The day she received her next assignment to the Tertia Star System's Diplomatic Center was also the day everything changed. "We need you, Riley. Something's happening in Tertia. Tensions between species are rising. There are signs of an ancient tech structure pulsing with energy and no one knows why." She raised an eyebrow. "And you think I'll understand it?" "No. But if anyone can break things open in the best possible way, it's you." So she packed her bags, which included a medieval world map, a book on how to hand brew coffee, and a robot assistant named Snacky whose only functions were brew coffee, play jazz, and scream when in danger. Tertia was unlike any place Riley had ever visited. It was where ancient civilizations intersected, where ecosystems of biology, engineering, and pure energy blurred together like an unfinished painting. And at the center of it all, floated a tower, no entrance, no signal, only a heartbeat-like pulse of light, from someone. Riley stood watching it from the ship's deck. Snacky whispered, "That tower isn't normal." "Which is exactly why I'm here," she replied, smiling. The moment Riley's ship touched down at the Tertia diplomatic base, an emergency signal hit her console. Not from Earth, not from the Galactic Union, but from the ancient tower itself. The signal arrived in the form of a game. Across her control screen bloomed an archaic message. "Creature of improbable probabilities, you have arrived. Let's play." Snacky screamed. Riley smiled. "Now we're talking. First challenge, decode the constantly shifting symbols circling the tower's surface." Each glyph seemed to be a mashup of language, mathematics, musical theory, and kinetics simultaneously. Researchers had spent 2 years trying to crack just the first layer. No success. Riley sat down. "Coffee, please." 3 hours later, she stood up, tapped a specific sequence of musical tones across the interface. The tower responded with a sound like laughter, then peeled back its first outer shell. "What did you do?" a researcher asked over comms. "I play by my own rules," Riley replied. "You were looking for logic. But it's rhythm." From that moment, the tower began engaging with Riley directly, offering a cascade of increasingly surreal challenges, constructing self-evolving ecosystems, manipulating matter using only emotion, solving multidimensional puzzles that responded to attitude. Each time she succeeded, the tower opened another level, revealing data from a civilization previously unknown to the galaxy. But what made Riley truly stand out wasn't sheer intellect. It was her ability to redefine the question. Faced with a simulation challenge about surviving in an extreme climate, other teams build filtration systems and environmental suits. Riley? She designed a new plant species, one that generated oxygen and played calming jazz when stress levels dropped. Why? The Galactic Union asked. Because plants can heal too, she said. And no one ever banned a good sax solo. When Riley unlocked the 5th level of the tower, the entire galactic communications network started glitching. At Galactic Union HQ, commanders stared at the interference. What exactly is she doing in there? A conservative faction began to voice concern. Are humans playing with something they don't understand? Meanwhile, inside the tower, Riley discovered a fragment of ancient data, an old prophecy about a species capable of breaking all constraints, if not bound by rules. The name of that species in the text, Humorous eretica. Snacky trembled. Do you know what species that is? Riley winked. I think I have a few distant cousins. The next level wasn't unlocked by intelligence. It was unlocked by memory. The tower demanded Riley recreate a primordial human memory, the moment our kind realized we could change the world around us. Riley didn't choose fire or tools. She chose laughter. It was the night we told stories around fire, she said. When fear became something to joke about. And we stopped being victims of the dark. We became storytellers. The door opened. This time, it wasn't just data. A consciousness emerged, a being calling itself the memory of the first ones. Creature from a world of chaos, it said. You are not like the others. You laugh in the face of the impossible. Do you want to know why you were chosen? Riley took a deep breath, her smile still intact. Sure, she said. But coffee first. The final challenge had begun. Inside the highest level observation chamber on Tertia, Riley Morgan stood alone before a gate glowing with pulsating green light, the entrance to the 7th level, the final test designed for entities deemed capable of altering galactic order. No one had ever reached it. At least, not without disappearing. What even is this level? Riley asked over the comms, eyes locked on the gate, which looked woven from living light and liquid data. It has no name, came a voice from the Galactic Union. We call it the question without an answer. Riley raised an eyebrow. Sounds more like a philosophy exam than a survival test. No. It's the most abstract simulation. The system will present a paradox, a problem that cannot be solved. Refuse to play or try to break the rules, and it's over. Riley smirked. Let's find out. She stepped through. Level 7 was not a labyrinth. Not a desert. No gravity shifts. No physical traps. Just a room. A table. And a single question, hovering mid-air, rendered in every known language, including English. If you break the rules to save one person, you're a hero. If you break the rules to save yourself, you're a villain. But if you break the rules to save an entire civilization, what are you? Riley stared at the question, then looked across the table. A figure began forming her own reflection. Another Riley. Same voice. Same thoughts. Same scars. But the eyes deeper, wearier, like she carried the weight of every decision ever made. "I am the test," said the second Riley. "And I know there's no right answer." Riley grinned. "Good. Because I'm not here to win." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a white piece of chalk. No one knew why she had chalk in her space jumpsuit. Same reason she once smuggled cookies into a Galactic summit. She walked to the wall and began to draw. "This question," she said, sketching a strange diagram, "is like asking a musician, if a note breaks the harmony but creates a new melody, is that a mistake or genius?" She drew a spiral of keywords: life, law, innovation, freedom, survival, ethics, then connected them all with an open-ended loop. "The problem," she said, "is that we're asking from within a frame that's too small." Her other self remained silent. A subtle frequency shift rippled through the room. The AI system was trying to parse human logic. Riley kept going. "If the question has no answer," she smiled, "then I'll change the question." She wrote on the wall, "What is right, if you're the only one left to tell the story?" A deep tone rang out. The system began recalibrating itself. Riley sat opposite her reflection. "We're not here to answer. We're here to make them ask better questions." Behind her, a hairline crack opened in the wall. Space warped. The system had failed to contain human thought. Not because humans were smarter, but because they thought differently. System alert: Omega level anomaly detected. Status: unquantifiable. Recommendation: abort trial. Too late. Riley stepped out of the 7th level, still holding her chalk. In the observation room, 3 alien commanders stared in silence, then turned to the report updating itself in real time. Subject: Riley Morgan has breached the boundary between assumption and reality. Deployed practical philosophy to neutralize paradox. Result: system must overhaul its entire question database. One of them whispered, "What is she?" A junior AI assistant stuttered. "The one who just made the computer question itself." Outside, Riley dusted the chalk off her sleeve. "Ask the right question," she said, to no one in particular, "and it's stronger than any fleet." News of the 7th level spread fast. No one called it the question without an answer anymore. They called it the Riley effect. At the southern edge of the Voltherian star cluster, there exists a planet so peculiar that it's been flagged as impossible on every known astronavigation chart. Not because it's hostile, but because nothing works there. Tertia had already sent 7 interstellar engineering teams. All of them returned with the same conclusion. Every optimization effort is reversed. Renewable energy systems stopped working. Air filtration units produced CO instead of O. Crops withered the moment terraforming tools touched the soil. They called it anti-terra. The land where the laws of engineering seem to fold in on themselves. Like a cosmic inside joke. Riley Morgan was not sent there out of hope. She was sent because there was nothing left to lose. When all procedural logic fails, you send in someone who doesn't follow procedures. "I need a backpack, a shovel, and a music player," Riley said. That was all she asked for. She landed on Anti-Terra at dawn. The sunlight there wasn't golden, it was violet, like light filtering through memory. The air? Stable. The soil? Rich. But every ecosystem was silent, as if the planet were waiting for something. While the experts before her tried to force proven solutions onto the planet, Riley listened. No measuring. No imposing. Just a woman walking slowly, digging a small hole into the earth, and whispering, "What are you resisting?" The answer didn't come in words. It came in reaction. When Riley pushed her shovel into the ground, the earth didn't close back up. It opened. A tangle of root systems tightly woven wrapped around a broken fragment of old Union tech. Ah, Riley exhaled. It's not rejecting solutions. It's rejecting the wrong kind of solutions. Piece by piece, she began removing the debris, careful not to leave behind even a trace of imposed intent. Then, she planted seeds. Not accelerated growth hybrids, but something very old school. A pouch of organic soil from her grandma's garden in Iowa smuggled in her emergency rations. 4 hours later, a sprout appeared. From orbit, monitoring stations panicked. A living plant? On Anti-Terra? Unprecedented. Encrypted Level 0 signal was dispatched to the Galactic Council. Positive biological response to non-standard behavior. Subject: Riley Morgan. But it didn't stop there. Riley wasn't trying to restore the planet. She was trying to talk to it. Not through devices. Not with protocols. With actions. She sat down and told stories. About humanity. About how they once turned deserts into forests. Made mistakes. Then unmade them. About how they could destroy anything, but also bring the impossible back to life. When night fell, Anti-Terra bloomed. Literally. Petrified trees shifted hues. The ecosystem didn't follow restoration blueprints. It rewrote itself. This isn't a broken planet, Riley wrote in her journal. This is a planet that's been hurt. And now it demands trust. In the Galactic Union's command room, leaders stared at the data stream. No algorithm could explain what was happening. No model could predict what would come next. One commander asked, "Should we intervene?" The head analyst replied, "No. We should learn." On Anti-Terra, Riley was still pulling weeds and singing an old folk song, way off key. But the plants kept growing, and the planet kept healing. Because sometimes, the solution isn't control. It's letting go the right way. In the central chamber of the Ithar System Assembly, where 32 civilizations had gathered to discuss the long-term stability of the galaxy, no one really knew what to say next. Why? Because Riley Morgan had just broken a chocolate chip cookie in half, handed one piece to Ambassador Verexon, a six-eyed alien from a species where sugar is classified as a neurotoxin, and calmly asked, "This is how humans negotiate with cookies. You want the one with more chips, or the crunchier edge?" Verexon blinked. 3 of his 6 eyes closed involuntarily. Not in pain, but in pure, cosmic confusion. From across the room, the representative from the Rill Interdimensional Transit Guild let out a sound like an overloaded signal generator sighing. "She's redefining diplomacy," with carbohydrates, Rill muttered. Honestly, it tracks. The conference had been convened to ease rising tensions between three major coalitions teetering on the edge of Cold War. They were arguing over vortex energy zones, interstellar signal routing rights, and whose fault it was that gravity malfunctioned on Station Alpha 17. Peace proposals had been torn up literally. The molded delegation used paper made from plants that exploded when disagreed with. And in the middle of it all, Riley brought cookies. It's a tradition on Earth, she explained. When there's conflict, we bring food. People talk better when they are not hungry. One delegate from the Xanthor, a species with plasma-based digestion, whispered. Will it explode? Only emotionally, Riley grinned. What no one expected was this. After a single bite, the Telvra representative stood and declared. The flavor balances structure and sweetness. It mirrors the logic of multidimensional cooperation. I propose, we reopen dialogue. Seconds later, the official event log named the moment. The cookie incident. It would later be considered the confectionery equivalent of humanity's moon landing. Riley, between bites, casually laid out a theory that stunned the room. Humans don't just eat to survive. We turn food into ritual, into language. When you share a meal, you're saying, I don't mean you harm. I want you alive so we can keep eating together. Delegates took notes. Verexon activated his quad-dimensional memory. The stone entity from Carson vibrated softly, an alien sign of being emotionally moved. So yes, Riley continued. A cookie isn't just a cookie. It's a non-lethal form of problem solving. Some delegates worried this could become a manipulative tactic using food as political leverage. Riley simply replied. We don't weaponize cookies. We use them to ask. Would you like to try a different approach? The silence that followed wasn't due to a lack of objections. It was because no one had ever been offered an alternative via butter, sugar, and sincerity. 3 hours later, the council signed a new temporary accord. The name? The Cookie Treaty? The first intergalactic peace document in history without the words deterrent or retaliation. 1 week later, Earth received 112 import requests for cookies. 15 planets founded their own departments of flavor diplomacy. And over 200 alien envoys were sent to Earth to learn how to bake. When asked why she thought a cookie could save a galaxy, Riley simply shrugged. Because before you negotiate contracts, you should know if the person across the table likes their cookies soft or crunchy. And if they like them soft, she smiled. Maybe they'll soften toward a reasonable solution too. Outside the chamber, someone wept. Either from emotion, or from a sugar crash. But that day was officially recorded in galactic history as the day a cookie opened the age of eternal cooperation.